the rules for the borders is really a federal issue. I think the one thing that I don't think any countries is able to say that we don't have the Omicron right now. I was listening to some of the experts in the last 24 hours, and what's happening in Ottawa, what's happening today in Quebec, I think it's probably already happened in the United States. So I think that's the reason we're saying we need to be prudent. And if you don't need to travel, I would evitate those travel if they're not necessary right now.
Thank you.
I read a statement here from the Ontario Health Ministry. In addition to the measures recently announced, we continue to urge the federal government to take the necessary steps to mandate point-of-arrival testing for all travelers, irrespective of where they're coming from, to further protect against the spread of this new variant. Now, you said at the beginning of this news conference you're pleased with how the federal government's handling it. Do you think the federal government should be doing more?
I think so, and that's the reason when I talked to Mr. Duclos this morning, he told me that they were currently in discussion, because exactly what the Ontario has been asking, I was discussing with Mr. Duclos, can you act on those additional measures as quickly as possible? So I think I made clear that I would like to have additional measures.
At the airports, at border crossings?
Definitely.
Okay.
As a public health person, we were in meeting all the weekend with our colleagues, other CCMOHs of the provinces, and we had emphasized that to Agence de Santé Publique du Canada at the agency. So we knew that we had that list, but we knew also that probably there's going to be importation possible through other countries, and it's why I would say, at least initially at the beginning of this transfer, try to catch it up from elsewhere. And that's important. We must understand that it will be impossible to contain that virus and don't it spread across the world. And borders cannot close forever because it doesn't work. But at this timing, we want to be prudent because we want to understand better what is this virus exactly.
And what kind of response have you had from the feds? Both.
There is continuous discussions.
Well, I think this is my view, and I think this is what Mr. Duclos, I understand. He would probably rather take a day or two to make that decision, but to make sure the machine will be there. Because if we require a PCR test at the airport, imagine the waiting line that you'll have. So he needs to make sure that the machine that is due and that is under the supervision of the federal need to be there to make sure that they can test PCR at the airport. Okay. So that's what we've been asking, but we understand that he needs to take the necessary measure to say when this is applicable that the machine will be there.
It's just to follow up what my colleague Jay was asking, though. You're saying you're asking for the federal government to do additional measures, and do you mean by those additional measures then you would like everyone who comes into the country to be tested at the border?
Well, as I mentioned, they told us that they need 2 weeks to get some information on the variant Omicron. In the meantime, we all think that 2 weeks is too long, and we understand that we don't want to make measures that are not necessary. So what can we do in the meantime that is a minimum? The minimum to me was last Friday, those 7 countries. The second point is maybe additional country. Nigeria is one of them, because we see that Nigeria was not in those 7 countries and should be in those countries. So they need to take a very quick decision on additional countries. And if this is not enough, depending on how the epidemiology accelerate, should we have additional measures like PCR at airport to make sure that we are restrictive on any countries? So this is exactly what Ontario has been asking and what we are asking. But we understand that he needs to take a day to make sure that he has the machine. When I say the machine, that there is the firing power to make those tests at each airport. That's a lot of work.